Good afternoon. Today I will be discussing Piaget's four stages of cognitive development. The four stages are the sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operational. The noise you hear in the background is either the television or my brother playing his PS4. I apologize for this. Now, getting back to the lesson. So during the sensory motor stage, which is from birth to the age of 2, the child will learn about the world and their environment through their senses of sight, touch, taste, and hearing. This is also the stage where they begin to learn that even when they look away, objects still exist, also known as object permanence. This is sort of why they enjoy peekaboo so much, because they think that since they can't see it, the object just disappeared. So, like, they think it's just poof, vanished, which we know is not the case. They also know that this is also the stage where they start to realize that they are separate people from they're separate from the people and objects around them, and they can affect the world with their actions. So the pre-operational stage is a stage that lasts approximately from 2 to 7 years old. It's a period where they start to use words and pictures to represent objects, uh, which is actually pretty useful because you can show them pictures of stuff and know what you mean, instead of you having to like bring them places or bring them objects so that they know what it is. Uh, Unfortunately, it's also the stage where they struggle to see things from others' perspective, as they generally show traits of being egocentric, which is why they don't really like to share during this stage. They also generally start to think of stuff in rigid and concrete terms instead of like being fluid and think of stuff like outside the box. So the concrete operational stage is when they're 7 to 11 years old. 7 to 11. That's funny. Actually, it rhymes. Basically, they start to think logically about certain events, and they begin to understand the concept of conservation. So, like, you could pour a glass of water from a long thin tube into a short wide tube, and it'd still be the same amount of water. But before this stage, they would think that it's two different volumes, but really it's the same. This is where they start to understand that. Uh, their thoughts become more logical and organized, but they're still set in concrete terms. They start to use specific information to a general example. Um, so, lastly, you have the formal operational. It's the final stage. So, where the adolescent or young adult begins to think abstractly and reason about hypothetical questions. They begin to use deductive logic or a general principle to a specific reasoning. Lastly, they begin to think of the subjects that require more abstract thinking, such as like hypothetical questions.